Welcome everybody to the post-show podcast. John Mussone here with Coach John Peacock. And Coach, I was going to kind of start off just by, a lot of people always ask when we come back from the games, friends and fans and people you see around restaurants, whatever, what was it like at the game? What was it like at the game? And a lot of times, sometimes you go to some of these away games, especially in playoffs, it can be very sort of tense in regards to adversarially, they're kind of like they want to get in your face a little bit, and it's normal. It's not anything that you worry about, but it can be a little tense. I'll say this: there were some of the nicest people I've ever been around at Palm Beach Lakes.
Yeah, they ran a first-class operation there from the time we got there to the time we left. Very accommodating. Always had someone by our side, making sure our locker room was secure. It was a little hot in there. It turned the AC on.
Agreed.
But you're exactly right. Very accommodating and very, very humble and very gracious.
And during
the feet,
right? And then halftime, I'm walking. I'm on the away side or the home side, and walking up, and they're asking a lot of questions about our players, and they rooted, they cheered hard for their team, and everything else. And then after the game was over, I must have had half dozen people just walk up to me and just say,
good luck,
and you guys are a great team, and it's really
it's nice to see. It's refreshing. That's kind of how we are. Hopefully, people view us that way. Heck, we get in a few games and there's been coaches not shake hands.
Right. And there's a lot of that, and it's weird. It's a weird kind of feeling, and with that game, you got to figure. And even after the game, for the kids, I can watch a little bit. I'm writing the stats down and whatnot. It looked like they're disappointed, but they handled it really well.
Yeah.
There was no big to do about it, and I think
they played hard the whole time too, like we talked about in the show.
Never stopped.
Like I said, I think the only time they started hanging their head is after our long drive there at the end. But they played hard the whole entire game, and they played like they were trying to win it the whole entire game. They didn't care about the score, and they were a class act doing it.
And then I read, go back and I read their paper about the game, what they said, and everything was pretty much what they told the story properly. But they interviewed their running back and their coach, and they really just said, hey, we're not going to hang our heads. We had a great year. That's a great football team, and they just. Again, everything they said was so. In case you guys ever wondering, there are times we do go down places and we come back with some horror stories.
Yeah, like getting trapped into a hallway.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff we can tell you about. But this was, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that because they were very
nice. Gracious. Obviously, I think when you're like that and you're humbled and you're still able to hold your character, and I think you'll see that program really we really haven't heard about them.
Right.
Until this year. And I think
that's what I was surprised by,
Yeah, and I think you'll see that program grow and to be probably a pretty dominant program.
And Lehigh, again, not a team that you see too much in the playoffs. While they were very nice, they had assistant principals coming up, but the people that were around them were a little bit off. We had police trying to move us one place when we were doing our walk.
Right.
So it was like this little, but we were like a mile from the stadium, little things like that, but that wasn't. But I think it was just missteps on their part. They didn't know how to really handle a situation. And that they were a little nervous. That's what I would say. They were a little nervous.
I'll tell you, Palm Beach Lakes had an awesome setup to where we're right underneath the stands.
So from a mile away to 5 feet away.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Very nice, especially with the rain and everything. So you were pretty close. But I just wanted to get that out there. I should say that they did do a very, very nice job of being hosts in a situation that I know takes a lot. Ask Pete Dombrowski; he'll tell you how much it takes to put into those things. And so,
You mean Pam Dombrowski?
Well, both Pete and Pam, I would say, yeah. So you have to make sure that they get a lot of stuff done. So they did do a good job, and we appreciate that. With that, Coach, obviously, we can talk about the nuts and bolts of what's going to happen Friday, but this game has a lot. Your family has a lot to do with Manatee High School. Obviously, your dad went to high school there, and you guys went to Manatee High School games. I did with you guys, with your brother. We used to go to watch different games when Manatee was playing. So a lot of history with both schools for both of us in some way, and I kind of like that this is where we're headed with it. When everything got broken down, I kind of thought to myself, I'd like to play Manatee again, just because it has that whole feel, and I think the area will be spotlighted because of it. And of course, you have down the road, you have Palmetto and Charlotte playing right down the road.
Yeah, that's pretty neat too. And I think Coach Waldrop, he's the only coach that's been head coach longer than me, so he's had a ton of experience in the playoffs. So I think advantage Charlotte as far as that goes. Coach Marino, we're still sending him our gas cards.
Yeah.
So he can come play us next year. But he's got that program rolling in the right direction, and they've been playing hard. They have one blemish on their record, and they got to play Charlotte again, and and we know how hard that can be.
Yeah.
We played Charlotte in 08? Mm-hmm. Undefeated team going in the game 11-0. We had
beat them good.
Put a running clock on them in the regular season, and we did lose Dree Archer. That was huge for us. We actually lost Dree Archer, then our backup running back as well. But we still felt pretty good going in the game, and they were able to win on a last-second punt return, which was one of our better teams. We were still young at that point. I think I'd say one of our better teams, but that group was still together in 2009.
And Dree was sort of a breaking out. You didn't know what you were going to get because you were worried about his size. The year before, he was about 130 pounds.
All he did is return punts. He made speaking of returning punts, he was in 2007. He kind of broke through in the Manatee game with a 70-yard punt return.
And we just saw his style when the thing was kind of bouncing around. He just grabbed it and went. And off he went.
Yeah, so that was a huge play. Speaking of Dree, it's playoff time, and everything is. You want to make sure your players are loose. They all know what's on the line. I mean, trust me, they know.
Yeah, there's no motivation.
Yeah.
There's going to be no big speech.
Right.
They know what's on there. They know who they're playing, and if they're competitors, and you get another shot at it, you're going to be ready to go.
Right. So we're like I said, we're excited for the opportunity. I know our kids are. I think our kids, hopefully have a little bit of confidence, even though we got beat pretty well the first time. Hopefully have some confidence that their work has been paying off, and they have gotten better since then. And hopefully we'll see a good football game.
I think it'll be a real exciting football game. Again, should be a big crowd that night because I know people from Manatee will pack it out. And the fact that the weather was a little bad, the distance was a little long for the Palm Beach Lakes game. I think all of those folks who didn't go are going to bring everybody with them to the Manatee game.
Yeah.
And they do. And I will say this from a facilities perspective, they have a wayside bleacher, which is good.
It's actually their old home side.
Right. That's the only place where the press box is on the visitor's side.
Yeah, so we won't have to deal with the chains.
No, it's totally different. Yeah, it's totally different. So again, Friday night, 7:30, and again we talked about live stream. Our buddy Francis here thinks that they probably will be live streaming it because they did it last week.
Well, so I just talked to one of their guys. Then they're not sure if it's going to be live streamed at all.
Okay, so it's just a matter of whether they want to.
So make plans to get there.
Yeah, no doubt. If you can be there, and again, it should be a real nice night. Probably about 65 degrees, I would say.
Hoodie weather.
And,
playoff time.
And we're ready to go. And they got good Chick-fil-A in their concession stand.
Yeah.
Everybody. Last time we went there, we had one of our coaches who indulged in Chick-fil-A and French fries when we were looking for him.
Yeah. Was that Coach Whiteline?
It was Coach Schwartz.
Oh.
Remember, he was supposed to be following me around, and he went to the concession stand. But just a little dig on Coach Schwartz. Anyway, so and then looking at the rest of the brackets in some way, I think it's kind of played out the way you would have expected it in 7A.
Big matchup in up north with Armwood and Lakeland.
Yeah, Armwood and Lakeland.
That's going to be my cousin married the head coach of Armwood.
Okay.
So it's kind of like my cousin. My cousin's coaching too.
So you can find out a lot of stuff from your cousin if you have to.
Cousin through marriage. So
Gotcha.
Good luck to my cousin.
And but if you look at it, I was kind of looking at some stuff, and we always say, people say, well, you got 1A through 8A. What's the best one? Is it 8A because of the biggest schools and everything? But if you look at the matchups, right now, if you look at teams that have flash, 7A is crazy. Now 6A, they got some, like you always see like Miami Central, they're like a 5 seed.
Well, you got Central, they're all split up now. You got Central split up from Northwestern, and Northwestern split up from Carroll City, and so they're kind of all split.
So they're all over the place.
Now last year that was a pretty cool deal where they're all together, and the runner-up from the district who came in just barely came in.
They won it all. Yeah. That was Northwestern, wasn't it? Yeah.
Northwestern, who lost to Carroll City and lost to Central, end up winning the whole thing. Hopefully they'll say that about us. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We got to beat Manatee.
But I was looking at saying, okay, and you got some undefeated teams way up in the Panhandle that are doing some stuff, and then of course you got the monster down in Fort Lauderdale playing a 3 seed. But you look at with those teams and what they've done over the last number of years,
right,
as far as state championships.
Well, Armwood, Manatee, Lakeland,
right. Us.
You know, I don't
St.
even know if
Thomas.
you can put us in those categories. You know,
Well,
you
I would say
we only have 2 state championships. Manatee has 5. Armwood has, I don't know, 3 or 4.
Yeah, 1 taken away.
And then Lakeland has 7.
Yeah.
You know,
and St. Thomas has what, 11?
Well, I don't count theirs. We don't count theirs.
But that's what I'm saying. You look at that and you say, because they've been, you moved around. We've been sort of stuck, if you want to say, in 7A for a while.
Right.
But the other schools have kind of bounced a little bit. Lakeland's been in 7A too, but Armwood's been 8A. They've been 6A. Now they're back to 7A.
Yeah, Armwood's been all over the place.
Yeah.
And I guess their school's growing and they're 7A now. You know, so yeah, I mean that's going to be a interesting. That we knew that, like, wow, that North bracket is a killer.
Yeah.
You know, and if whoever makes that a North bracket has done some things.
Is it Escambia the other one that's 7A? Or Niceville or somebody up there that's? I know they've got the 7A up there. There's 2 I think undefeated or close to undefeated schools, and you don't know. I mean, how do you? I mean, I guess you could call Coach Brown up in Mosley and say, hey, what are these guys like? You're getting the Panhandle, whatever. But
I think he played Niceville.
I think he
did.
did.
Coach Brown did play Niceville. Speaking of Coach Brown's going to be here giving the pregame Friday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He's a good speaker.
So hopefully he brings a little bit of fire with him.
He better.
Fire in the belly is what Clint would say, you know. Hopefully he has some fire in the belly.
So yeah, I look at the bracket and I was like, wow. I mean, this is big boy football. You know, we're playing in a spot. So if you're going to ask me again, I'll say 7A clearly.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. It is the toughest class in the state, and when you say the toughest class in the state of Florida, you're talking about the toughest class in the nation.
Well, and I've always said to everybody too. I said, you know, if you look at it, just if you follow Max Preps, everybody now, Max Preps is very much tied to FHSAA. We have to have all of our stuff on Max Preps before a certain time of the week, so they can have it ready for the Friday night games. But they're tied to that. And Max Preps, if whoever wins 7A over the last 4 or 5 years I've been following it, automatically is top 25 team in the state. I don't care if you got whatever you did.
Nation.
In the nation, right? Yeah. In the nation. You are a nationally top 25 team automatically.
Well, look what it did for Lakeland. I mean, it basically put Lakeland, who was relatively kind of hadn't been on the map for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, they won it last year, and they opened up the season like number 4 or 5 in the country.
Right.
You know, so
because they had a returning starter at a running back that was
right. They had a lot of returns. Now, unlike us, you know, like after 17, we were in the top 25, but we lost pretty much the whole team.
A lot of big pieces, right?
You know, the starting receiver, starting quarterback, which is huge, and then our pretty much our entire defense.
Right.
You know, so, and then 2018. It happened again. We basically replaced our whole defense this year.
Right.
You know, even the ones that were returning, we kind of moved their positions. So, and now we're all, you know, 12 games in it.
So you're all experienced.
Right. So we're playing a lot better on defense, and you know, most teams at this point, defensively, you'll start seeing like this time of the year, like defenses will start playing better.
Right. And you saw we talked on our highlight package. We're signaling out some people here and there, but we're saying how much Rowan Foskin's gotten better at his position. How much the Savion Castaway is now in the backfield, not running around like, where's the guy? Like, he's got the guy.
Right.
And he's not making a tackle. He's making a strip on the football and recovering.
Right.
So those
and
little
Chuck
things.
Brantley, who's like a
ball hawk,
turnover
everywhere.
machine. He's got 6 interceptions. How many fumble recoveries? I'm not sure, but you know, he's a guy that, you know, we can stick on their number 1 receiver. And he's physical too. He's physical too. You know, not sure he was like that when he came here, but he's become a much better football player from a year ago. Even though I think he had 9 picks last year, but they're different.
Right.
They're different type picks. I mean, he's playing really good football, and
the plays he's making now are like in critical spots.
Yeah.
You know, he's making some plays. Martin Ramos. I mean.
Yes.
I mean,
he made a huge play this past Friday
big play,
night.
and then again, he's. I don't want to say that he's a typical Venice linebacker or good Venice linebacker, but he has this innate ability to kind of he's on the tackle.
He's getting comfortable now.
He's on the tackle. He's not, you know, and that's where you're starting to see people are finding their identity and how they're going to play.
I think it works. I think earlier in the year, you know, Martin Ramos was like oh my gosh, what am I doing? These big guys in front of me, like, to now where he's playing football and like, all right, I know where I'm going, know what I'm doing, I'm gonna make some plays.
He's a good football player. Another one, Jeb Schrader. Look at the last 2 games.
Yeah, Jeb Schrader.
10 total tackles last week, and he's making some backside plays and doing some stuff. So everybody's getting in there and getting a feel for it, because again, they do have the experience now, and it really is starting to pay dividends.
And we talked about just up front, like our 2 D tackles that we've just put in the mix are playing really, really well. Trenton Kintai, who's a freshman, who was, I'm calling it right now. He's going to be the next Jarrett Hewitt. I mean, he is a good-looking freshman. I mean, Jarrett didn't look quite that good as a freshman, and we'll see how he progresses in the weight room to see if he's like a Jarrett in the weight room.
I think Jerry wanted to be a running back his freshman year.
He was. I think he actually was a running back.
And a punter,
Yeah. But this kid, even Jarrett's freshman year, he ended up coming up and playing for us.
Right, he did
as a freshman. But I think this kid's a little bit ahead of where Jarrett was. Not saying, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's Jarrett Hewitt.
No. There's a long way to go.
Long way to go, and there's
potentially
potential there.
He's there.
Right. And then putting Thomas at the defensive line has been huge for us. If not just anything mentally, we've gotten, I think the last 2 weeks alone, when we made that move, we've gotten maybe 3 sacks out of the interior defensive guys, to where I don't think we had any going in.
And which you make a full circle in the conversation, you now look at it and you say, well, at the end of the game against Manatee last time, they kind of ran the ball out a little bit on us, and so you had 2 D tackles who were playing the whole game, giving everything they got, and they're getting a little tired. Now you got a rotation.
Yeah, we have
guys that are, so you can do some stuff with that, and you're staying fresh, which is huge. Especially if if they were going to do the same thing again, you've got some guys that, and even in a situation like you've got a couple of linebackers that can come in and do some things for you, just in a certain situation. I know Exler's been in there a few times and whatnot, and Rayer has been in there.
Yeah, Rayer's actually been doing really good, playing really good football for us. And he's going to be a guy next year we're able to count on and have some really good game experience. So we're real excited about Rayer. It's just he's got 2 seniors in front of him, but again, he's had a lot of playing time and made some plays.
And he's earned it. He's earned it a lot. One other last thing about the defense. So we talked about guys that have come in and stepped in, but maybe Elliott Washington might be the most important guys you've got as a freshman playing corner, because that allowed Stephon Johnson to go over the offense, and you didn't lose. Stephon was clearly that may be the position he plays long term as a cornerback.
Yeah, I think Stephon is definitely an elite corner. Unless you're talking about, I was thinking today. I mean, he looks reminds me so much of Greg Hill.
Okay.
The guy that played quarterback at Georgia Southern when I was there. So elusive and just real smooth and elusive, and he might have the opportunity to play at a school like Georgia Southern.
Okay.
Play the quarterback position, but other than that, I mean, he's going to be an elite corner. I mean, and colleges can pick up on that. We have film of him on corner, and then you see the athleticism at quarterback. They'll be able to see, like, that's an offer kid.
Right.
So that's a kid that I think in December you're going to see blow up with. We're going to offer him, and we'll have 2 elite corners next year with Chuck and Stephon
and Elliott.
And Elliott,
yeah,
of course. And I think Elliott might be a guy, that's he has the body that you look at and you say, well, he might be 200 pounds, because he's just a freshman. He may be 200 pounds and maybe playing free safety.
I would say safety, yeah.
And we don't, obviously I say that with 2 corners, but Stephon might be our quarterback next year.
Right.
We don't know what, obviously we don't know.
Well, we didn't know.
Right.
In the spring game, Lakeland, everybody came back from the game and said, Stephon Johnson had 2 interceptions. He's D1 corner, and now he's playing quarterback.
Then he had the spring jamboree or whatever we did. We had 2 interception walk-in pick sixes.
Right.
So he's definitely a guy that has good ball skills and a very dynamic. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, he may be a quarterback at Georgia Southern, but he also may be a corner at Florida.
Right.
So
could either way. All right. Well, let's go to our picks before we get too far into it. Last week, we were both 3-1-1.
3-1-1.
We were winners.
Yeah, last week, let's see, my picks, just to refresh everybody. I went with Bama, who covered.
Me too.
It was -21 over Mississippi State. I went with Virginia Tech, who covered over Georgia Tech.
Me too.
I went with Georgia, -3 over Auburn.
I went the other way.
You went the other way.
Yep.
I went LSU versus Ole Miss, which was a push.
Me too.
Yep. And then I went Oklahoma -10 versus Baylor, who was a loser.
Right. And I had Kentucky -8.5 over Vandy, and I was a winner on that one.
Yeah.
So, with that's winning. So,
overall, right now where we stand, which I'm not too happy with, I'm 6-8-1.
Okay.
And you're 7-7-1.
So I'm losing at this
You're
point.
one game ahead. You know, well,
well, I mean,
you are losing. You're
Yeah.
losing the bet, you know, the juice, so to speak. So I'm gonna go with my picks real quick.
go ahead.
I'm going USC -13.5 over UCLA. I'm going Georgia Southern -1 over Arkansas State.
Okay.
I'm going Virginia -16.5 over Liberty.
I looked at that game, and I wasn't. I mean, Virginia's been a little up and I thought they were going to be.
Right.
I thought they might be in the ACC championship.
Right. They've been up and down, but
I like their coach.
They've been playing some tough football. I think they take out a little bit of frustration against Liberty.
Okay.
I'm going Oklahoma State -7 versus West Virginia.
Okay.
And I'm going Ohio State -18 versus Penn State.
Good. I like that.
And I know that's a big spread, and everyone's looking like, oh, it's a big number, but I think Ohio State has something to prove. I think they want to get that #1 seed.
Right. I think they're going to want to make Michigan think about them a lot for a week too if they can put it on it. But
Yeah.
I will say something. So, not to start backwards, but I will go. That was my last game. I did take Penn State -17.5 over Ohio State.
Did you?
Only because I just thought that in this case, I think Ohio State wins. I think they win easy, but it's one of those games
You went
where
Penn State.
I went Penn State only because I just think that there's a potential for a late score or two. You know, Penn State's not going to lay down. They're going to want to put on and even if they come back a little, I think they're going to. It might be one of those games where Penn State just stays in it, and gets a late
Right.
one to make the difference. So as from a pick perspective, that's why I went that way. I went UCF -6 at Tulane. Tulane, they've had a sort of up
Yeah.
and down deal. I think UCF
Got a good coach, though, so-
trying to come back and make sure some things. I'm taking Minnesota -13.5 at Northwestern. I mean, Northwestern's been terrible, and Minnesota coming off a tough loss. I think they might want to put something on Northwestern. You know, it's at Northwestern. I'm taking Baylor -5.5 at Texas. I don't like Texas this year. I think they're very up and down. I'd like to think that Baylor shows a little heart and comes back, because they can still manage to come back and play again.
Well, they're going to play Oklahoma again.
So they got,
in the championship if they get there.
but they can't, crap the
Yeah.
bed and keep on losing games. So I think it's a big deal. And I agree with you on one other one. I did take USC -13.5. I mean, UCLA went to Utah and lost 49-3. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't put any points. And Utah's a very, very. I think Oregon and Utah, as far as college football, everybody's saying Pac-10's out of the playoff picture. If some things shake out and there's a bunch of one-loss
How does
teams,
their championship game work? Will Oregon play Utah in the championship game?
they will.
Yeah, I think the winner of that has a chance.
And they play it on a Friday
Yeah.
night, which is kind of cool. It's kind of separate from everything else. And so I think that they will. I think that again, if it ends the way you think it's going to end, then you have Georgia will play LSU in the SEC championship game. Georgia loses, they're out. That puts Alabama as the other one-loss team in the SEC. With Tua being out, and that's
Still I still think, even though Tua's out,
I think they have to beat Auburn handily in order because I think that their loss if they beat Auburn in a sort of a Alabama kind of 5-point win, and one of those two teams, Oregon or Utah, shows out and has a really good game, I think they might be able to get in there. I think Oklahoma
I hope not.
is out of it as a one-loss school. I don't think anybody from the Big Ten can make it in unless they win the championship outright with one loss. That's the only way I see it happening. So I just think that might happen. But
Will Ohio State?
if Ohio State goes undefeated, obviously they're in.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, let's say for something happened that Ohio
Right.
State goes to the championship game and Minnesota beats them. I don't
Yeah,
know.
right,
You might have a
right.
one-loss team in the Big Ten
Right.
still make it, and then the Pac-10 team. I don't know. Again, Alabama, I mean, what they did against LSU to keep it close and showed the heart of that team.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to look at the game. I mean, the way the
no.
game started, we had the Alabama dropped the ball going in to score, and then they had a punt.
Sure.
Bad.
They had that one game you have every year just
Right.
against the wrong team. And by the way, losing to number one is nothing bad about it. I mean, Florida, that's the team I follow, obviously. Their resume is 2 losses, but to number 1 and number 4 right now.
Right.
So everybody looks at that and says, that's the best 2-loss team in the country because look what they lost to. If you're going to use that criteria on Florida, you got to use it on Alabama too. You can't say, hey, they got one
there's
loss.
one loss, so.
But I'm saying one, you got to say, that's right. The number one, you lost to the number 1 team in the country,
Right.
so you would think that their loss was better than somebody else's. And so I think it just depend on how that Utah.
And it was a close loss too.
Oh yeah, very close.
Yeah.
5 points, and
Yeah.
again, it could have been. It was an onside kick away from being,
Yeah.
different. So it was something.
Or a botched punt.
Right. So I do agree with that. But it's nice that you have there's talk of it. Last couple of years seems like it's been a foregone conclusion. I don't think anybody looks at Alabama Clemson as a lock to go to the national championship like at the beginning of the year thought it was going to be. Oh, they're back again, and here they roll into it. Now You've got everybody looking at LSU like they're the best team, and Ohio State is maybe the second best team. So you look at that; that's a nice kind of, a little mix of things for a change.
Right.
And I think everybody in college football likes that. So where are we on for? Are we doing good, Francis? Any questions from anybody in the peanut gallery?
One person said Swartz.
Swartz.
Oh, I know it's Swartz. I did it on purpose. It's Swartz, not Schwartz. It's 2 different things. Yes.
Coach Schwartz.
It's Swartz.
Oh,
That
Swartz.
I did.
Okay.
As the PA announcer, sometimes I get a little rushed, so
Yeah.
I made the mistake of doing that. But no, but Coach Swartz,
Yeah, maybe he won't be eating hot dogs.
he won't be at the concession stand
Yeah.
this time for the game. So again, everybody, come on out to see us Friday night. Like I said, we've been talking about it for about an hour now, but it's a game. It's a regional championship. So let's go to that real quick. It's something to be said that we're back in a regional championship for what now the 4th year in a row. So this will be 4 years in a row for the regional
New
championships.
year. I don't want
No,
to start putting some.
no, but I'm just saying in general, there's that it's just it a lot of times it feels good that you can get back to those places and do those things, and it's a testament to the program at this point, and the kids doing all the right things. So
Yeah.
all right, with that was the
Come on out.
the podcast show for tonight, and please come on out again. I've been stressing it a lot, but I'd like to see everybody out there, and again, it would be a good night, and I'd say it can be a little trafficky in Lakewood Ranch. So either
Get there early.
get there early and get your spot. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit of there can be some tight parking up there.
Typically, this would be Black Friday, which would be miserable, but
Right,
it's
right.
a little different slate this year. The Thanksgiving game is actually the semifinal game, not the.
Yeah, and that's I guess how the weeks fell this year. Or did they start the
It's
season
very late.
earlier?
No, it was late. Well, it's a late Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
It
it
is
is
a real late Thanksgiving. So, so maybe that's good. It's not Black Friday because that'd
Yeah.
be a horror show trying to get there.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
Especially the
UTC
mall being right there. Yeah.
Forget it. You'd have to go up
Right.
41 and
Yep.
take that 2-hour drive instead. So with that, thanks again for watching us on the podcast, and we'll see y'all here next week for the post-show podcast. Take it easy.